Hey everybody, Evan AG here, and I'm back at long last to do a follow-up video on the VJS WordPress theme starter. I've been meaning to do this for a while because honestly it seems to be like one of the most requested features and or questions, which is adding support for the WordPress menus into your front end. So we're going to walk through that, and I'm pretty much going to do this on like a live coding format. So let me know in the comments if I'm going too fast or too slow, or if I need to bump my resolution down a little bit. Yeah, but let's get it going. So I'm starting off right here with the bare bones theme starter. I haven't done anything to it yet, but we'll just start from here. So a few prerequisites before we can even dive into this. We need to make sure and install a plugin because unfortunately right now the menu is not available via the API at this point. So we're going to install this plugin, the WP REST API v2 menus. And note, if you click on View Details, you will see that it gives you a few paths here for where to access all the menu stuff in the API. We'll definitely be coming back to that. The other prerequisite is, let's see here, functions. And we need to make sure and register a menu. This is how we do that, but I'll let you do it on your own, because that's where we'll be setting up this menu and eventually where we'll be pulling it from the API. So let's jump into it. First thing I'm going to do is I created a menu here. So you're going to want to do that. And I've just put a couple of sample links because this is pretty much a fresh install of WordPress. So there's not much there. And then what I did was, let's see here. If you look in your, oh, actually, no, it doesn't key off of this. I just realized that. So when you create your menu, you're going to give it a name. That name is going to be turned into a slug, just like everything else in WordPress. And you're going to access that menu at this path. So I'll give you a moment to take that down. But as you can see, it gives us all the data, all the items in that menu. So pretty sweet. So let's actually start getting into some of the theming side of this. And I can't even remember what my npm command is for this package. So dev, it looks like it's dev. I think it's watch. So it's npm run watch. Let's see if I'm right. Looks like it's good so far. And so the thing that makes the most sense to me here is to add this into the header component, or at least our fetching of that information. We'll add it into the header. What did I do here? Okay, that was weird. Okay, so what I would do is, let's close out some of these files, clean things up. I'm mostly going to work in the header to begin with. Okay. Okay. Also, I'd really love to know, for those of you that have used the theme starter, what your impressions have been. I often battle with like how much to put into it, since it is a starter, versus letting you sort of use it as a foundation and build upon it. But I gotta tell you, there's a big part of me that wants to turn this into sort of a WordPress framework, Vue WordPress framework. But I've resisted that, which has been easy because I've been so busy. Okay, so I went ahead and created a new partial for the menu here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start setting up our header component. So it is pulling in the data from the menu, and this is new for me. I don't code and talk a lot, so we'll see if I can do this or not. So we do our normal Vue boilerplate stuff. Let's see, do I want to store that? I think I want to store this on the header and pass it down through to the menu via props. So let's do this. Let's do our data, return our object, and we're going to have our menu set to false by default. And we're going to do our methods, or our mounted. We don't want to do that. We're going to do before mount. And then we're going to create a method called fetch menu. And of course we need our this.fetch menu. Then we create our methods. And we're going to do this as an async function. fetch menu. And let's see here. I'm going to pull in, we're already doing an Axios fetch and already has some of our variables and stuff that we set up for this. So I'm going to copy all this stuff over. And we're going to, let's see, the path we want to get in this case is this path here. And we actually can't use this because it is set up to point to the WordPress base API. So we could set up another, shortcut here for that, but I think it's probably just going to be faster to just do a one-off in this case. So I'm going to get rid of this, and we don't even need any of that. Do our single quotes, and boom. And then what we will do is we'll console log out this bad boy and see what we're working with. Okay, let me pull up my window here. And let's get our console nested nice back in the sidebar here. Yeah, on that note, one of the common questions that I get in the issues in GitHub a lot is about hot reloading on this project. Unfortunately, since this is not like a true Node application we're running, this is a JavaScript application that's running within a PHP application, WordPress. Hot reloading doesn't work at this time. I've had some luck with browser sync, I think it's called, but it's kind of flaky. So I honestly haven't used it. So that stinks. Okay, so I did figure out I'm getting some errors by trying to use async functions, I guess because I'm using an older version of Vue in the project, I think. I don't know what's happening, but anyway, we refresh here. I'm still getting that error. Okay, got it. I found it. So as you will see, we are getting the response from Axios here. And the data we want is in the data property. So let's further refine this here to data, and then we'll refresh. Boom. Okay, great. So you'll see we have all of our menu items, and this items are right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign the data here to our menu property and our view data. So we'll do this dot data equals response.data. All right, great. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull in our menu component and start setting all that up. Now, some of this is kind of user preference. Like for me, one of the beautiful things about Vue is the ability to strip things down to the smallest possible component and then just sort of include that component wherever you need it and pass the data into it that it needs to sort of function properly. But you could also just do all of this right in line inside of the header component. That's 100% personal preference. For me, I'm going to set it up as its own component and import it. So I created this file here in partials/header/menu, and I'm going to do a super quick scaffolding for that. I'm going to make this a nav component with a UL inside of it and some list items. More on that later. And it's going to accept props. The props are going to actually just be the menu itself. Let's see if we need anything else right now. I don't think we do. What we will do though is, so let's do a vif menu because by default back in our header here, we set it up as menu false because we don't want to show it unless the data is there. I'm going to then import menu from, let's see, where is it relative to where we are now? Header/menu. And we're going to register that component under here. And then what I'm going to do is get rid of that placeholder text, and we're going to do our menu here, and the menu equals menu. I'm going to assume that you already know Vue if you're at this point. So if you have issues, post in the comments, and myself or someone, I'm sure will get with you and help you with that. Okay, let's see. I don't know why this is building so slow. You know what? It is requiring the extension for view files. I forgot that. Okay, cool. So now we've got that. Let's sort of look at where we're at, which shouldn't be anything interesting this point. So now our header isn't actually rendering because there's no content in it because the menu is false. But I would have expected it to pop in. Interesting. Huh. Okay. So now everything's being passed to the menu that we need. What I'm going to do is do a loop here over the menu items. Leave for item and menu.items. And what do we want to actually display? So let's look at our API response here. So we're definitely going to use the ID as a key, or part of our key anyway. We want to use the title, of course. And we're going to be using this URL, but we're going to have to manipulate it a little bit to work with our view router. So let's first set up our key and our title. So post title and ID are what we're looking for here. So then we'll do key equals, we'll do single quotes, menu item, and then we'll do, actually we're going to do backticks here because backticks are freaking awesome. Okay, so menu item, item.id, and then we're going to do our double curlies with our item.post title. Okay, let's see what that looks like if it's not completely broken at this point. Okay, this is the footer. So we're not getting anything. And first off, let me change this so it doesn't show up the WordPress admin toolbar. Boom.com. Okay, let's refresh and see what we got. Absolutely nothing, which is what I was hoping for. So what is going on here, and I'm sure you all probably already found it and you're yelling at the screen at this point. Props menu, we've got, that looks good. We're fetching the menu, we're assigning. Oh, you all probably found that already, didn't you? Okay, there we go, let's try that. All right. Well, now I'm really stumped. This.menu equals response.data. I'm wondering if we're having a naming collision here. Let's do this just to try it out. Let's do main menu. That already looks better. Okay, cool. Okay, well, good to know. Didn't know that'd be a problem. Okay, cool. Love it. Great. Okay, so now why do we have an empty element here? Let's see here what our view console, our view DevTools are saying. Maybe. Okay, so we've got, and that's not it. This. Where is it? Yeah, right there. Okay. Menu items, number 2. Okay, so it looks like the title of the menu item isn't consistent. Okay, so let's look at what might be causing this. So sample page, does that page exist? Because it kind of looks like it doesn't. It sure does. Okay. Sample page looks good. If we look here, ID is 6. Post title is sure enough, it's empty. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, here we go. Title property. Okay, cool. So let's do that. Update this to use that title. That makes sense because its post title will be the reference to the post that the menu item links to. That makes sense. You tell I've only done this like once. Okay, cool. Let's make sure it loads good now. Cool. Great. Okay, so next thing we need to do is set up our routing for those elements. And what we're going to do is, let's see, we need to use the router link element. And where do we want that to link to? So what's going to make the most sense here is probably to point that to a method that's going to modify the output of the API to be what we want, because the issue here is this is a fully qualified path right now. And fully qualified paths in Vue apps is a bad thing because it will actually refresh and reload the application. What we really want is just this last part of the path, everything after the base domain here. So we're going to parse that path. And I was going down this path here, no pun intended. I was going down the path here of figuring out how to parse a URL string into its components and see what we would come up with. So, okay, so I'm going to save you all some time and trouble. So it turns out that this is actually fairly complicated. Like, it's really simple if you want to get the URL of the current page and parse that. But if you just have a string that happens to be a URL and you need to parse it, you're pretty much down in regular expression land. I found this on Stack Overflow, where I find most of my answers. I'm trying to decide if it's overkill or not, but I also want this to be fully, kind of foolproof. That way, if if you're in a situation where your WordPress site is installed like in a subdirectory or something like that, it'll hopefully still work. Fingers crossed. Let's see here. Okay, let's try it out. I'm not above just pulling in some code from the internet and trying it out. I'm not too proud at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up, is that the name of the methods? Yeah. Okay. We're going to call this method get URL path, and it's going to take in the URL and paste this guy in. We don't need it as a standalone function at this point. Okay, let's get rid of this stuff here. You ever do that when you paste in code from somewhere into like the context of your own code, and then it's like you're tracing down like where brackets begin and end, and it's like not fun at all. Okay, URL.match. So let me look back at this original code real quickly and see what they're doing here. So they're creating an object. Okay, got you. Cool. Cool. Okay, so we don't need to return this here. What I do want to know is exactly what is in those dudes. So we'll console log R, because M is just a parsed URL string. I actually don't even need any of this stuff either. So let's just see what we got for a minute. And then up here in our router link, we're going to say the 2 equals get URL path of item dot, I think they called it link. Let's double check real quick. URL. Okay, totally off. Okay, cool. So let's save that and bring our console back up here on this window. Let's see what we get. Oh, a lot of errors. Okay. Okay, but we do have the important part here. That's what we really want. So the first one is different because it's just a link to the home page, so it doesn't really have any path information. Boom. Okay, there's what we want. So path name is what we really want. So what we want to do is return that path name from this function. And then that will populate, the to property of our router link here, and hopefully fix these errors. Okay, great. So if we look down here at the bottom, we can see it's linking to / sample page and just our normal base view. So the beautiful thing, I love it when something just works. I really love it. The beautiful thing here is that because all of our routing was already set up to accept the query string for all of the pages, it works. It works really great. So yeah, there we have it. Let me know if you have any questions about how this is set up, or if you have any issues on your specific project. But there you have it. Now I just got to decide if I want to include this in the starter or not. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.